If you would be my disciples, you have to take up your cross daily and follow me. Not exactly the good news and cheerful expression we were hoping for, but it is a very real expression. I don't think anyone gets out of life without some cross. And the crosses of our lives have one major thing in common, and that is we usually, for the most part, don't get to choose them. When we do penance, Lent, we give up chocolate, or we give up movies, or we give up something. That's a penance. That's a voluntary decision we make to offer God something to be in better self-control of our lives. But the crosses are different. Crosses are not voluntarily embraced. Crosses are thrust upon us. Just stop and think about it. The various kinds of crosses that people experience in life. The families of those who were killed in Orlando last week. Imagine the pain and cross of that experience. Or in our own lives, our own families, a sense of loss at times. This is Father's Day. The struggle and the crosses that parents have raising their children. There's a significant cross there that most people didn't bargain for when they started out seeing this beautiful little baby. Or sometimes the issues of health, financial insecurity, families that are victims of just burned out by these wild fires that rushed through their territory. All that they had, except for their lives, gone. All their mementos, all their pictures, all their treasures from the past. Or old age all by itself. I just read again the bestseller Being Mortal, and in that book, Philip Roth is quoted as saying, "Old age is not a battle, it's a massacre." The diminishment that comes with old age, that's a cross people didn't sign up for. Yeah, I grant you it beats the alternative, but it's still a cross. And perhaps what's even more difficult is the pain we experience for those we love. Broken relationships, when our children are in difficulty or struggling or in pain. Even the fact of many people, I think, older generations are pained by the fact that their children don't practice their faith at all, even though you worked very hard to communicate that faith to them. So we all have these crosses to bear. The Lord says you've got to pick up that cross daily, one day at a time. And we're not meant to have to do that alone. There are two major things that we have going for us. One is the Lord has promised us that we will not be burdened with more than we can bear with His help. And He guarantees us His help. He guarantees us the strength that we need to bear whatever crosses appear in our lives, whatever they may be when they come. I've mentioned to you before, worry doesn't count. If you want to worry, you're on your own. But what you have to bear today, what you have to actually face, the cross you have to pick up and live with today, that you receive the strength from Christ to bear. You find there your consolation in faith, the Lord present in your life, accompanying you, strengthening you, holding you up. Secondly, we are supposed to be a comfort and a care for one another. We are not meant to bear our crosses alone. There's supposed to be, Simon on the way helped Jesus carry his cross. We should have people in the community, and not just Catholics for Catholics, but Christians for everybody, We are to help people carry their crosses. That's part of what our gifts are, part of what our responsibility is, part of what it means to be a Christian people, a follower of Jesus. We are to help others. And that happens in a variety of ways. It can happen by just visiting with people or talking with people or dropping a note to people. I realize there's a certain aversion to being with people who are hurting. You kind of almost as if we fear is contagious. We have to get over that, overcome that. And as Catholics, in my experience as a pastor for many years, we're not particularly good at that. I remember a woman telling me once her husband had died about 6 months earlier. And she said one of the things she discovered is that when you go to Mass alone, you go to Mass alone. That there was nobody reaching out, nobody showing care, nobody inviting, nobody saying, let's have breakfast. The same thing is true in social life. People used to invite this couple to come and join them for dinner or join them for a social thing. Now that one of them is missing, the other one never gets invited anywhere. That's a reality, and it's a reality in the Christian community, let alone outside the Christian community, where we're supposed to be the caring example. We are to be Christ to one another. We are to be the presence of Christ in our world. We are to have that sensitivity, that care for those who are hurting, those who have crosses to bear that are very difficult. We can't do everything, but we can do something. We can't remove the cross, but we can express care and concern and help a person bear it and live with it. That's our responsibility. There's a story, I'm sure you've heard it before, because I heard it 30 years ago. In World War II, most of Germany was bombed to a shell. And one of the churches there, among other churches, was totally bombed, and there was nothing left but a shell of the church and some statues in disrepair. One of them was a statue of Christ that at one point had been, this kind of statue of Christ that had been, common. Only the hands had been blown off in the explosion that destroyed the church. And some GI hung a sign around the neck of the statue, and it said, "I have no hands but yours." That's who we are supposed to be. We are the hands, the presence of Christ to others in a visible, concrete, incarnate way. As Jesus has blessed us, we are to bless others. As Jesus strengthens us to bear our cross, we are to strengthen others. As Jesus embraces us, we are to embrace others. Our Pope is so conscious about this all the time, and he's helped to make us more conscious of our role. So in bearing our cross daily, one day at a time, we have the strength and the presence of Christ, we have the strength and the presence and care of one another, and we are to be the ones who reach out to the world and all those who are hurting, that they may come to know that they are loved and that the crosses they bear are not the last word, but resurrection and glory is the last word Christ speaks to all.